Hello, here we are on Fleet Street again, because I was here recently, and we're going to look at the Temple District today, which is through this entrance and several others, and we're going to use one of the others. And we're also going to talk about a few odds and ends, I guess. Ransomware has been in the news lately, King Arthur, funnily enough, the IMF, and I don't know, whatever else. So we're just walking along Fleet Street here a bit to find the other entrances, because the Temple District is just south. It's through the archway underneath that building to Prince Henry's room there. A prince who would have been king, but he died many centuries ago. So you can go in there when it's open. It's only open, the temple is basically only open during the week. Lawyers live there as well as work there. It's one of the legal districts, or two of the legal districts actually, the Inner Temple and the Middle Temple. And we're going to go in there and have a look basically, but I'm just going to show you the various entrances. You see, you can see down into there when people don't park in front of it. We're just by Chancery Lane here. Another one of the old buildings on Fleet Street. And another entrance to the temple. It's part of the Middle Temple, yeah. It's Middle Temple Lane if the camera would only focus. It's confused by all the movement and stuff. Right. So you can wander down there as well when it's open, it's fine. All open to the public. And we have the dragon here, which marks the boundary of the City of London. So this side of it that we're on is the city, and the far side is the Westminster. This is the Royal Court of Justice, and the Temple District, which is behind these buildings on our left, is divided into two sections, the Inner Temple and the Middle Temple, and there's a secret entrance beside this bank here. You go here, through this doorway behind this bus. You can wander through here as well. But anyway, the Inner Temple is basically to the east of the dragon, and the Middle Temple is to the west of the dragon. Because the Inner Temple is called Inner because it was inner to the city. But we're going to go down this little alleyway opposite the Royal Courts of Justice to get in there. It's called Devereux Court, I think, after the is it Richard or Robert Devereux, Earl of Essex, once upon a time bought the place and owned it, so it was his. I'm going to go in there and have a look. I don't know if I'll get to talk about much else than what we're looking at, really, because there's plenty to see. Nice old London pub. There we are. I mean, ransomware came to my attention this week because I saw some statistics that 20% of British companies that are attacked by ransomware are actually forced to close as a result. And as 40% of British companies are attacked by ransomware each year, 20% of 40% means 8% of all companies in the country, if these figures are right, have to close each year. Virtuous Commerce Nvidia. I don't know what it means, but it sounds good. Virtue makes you invidious? I don't know. Anyway, we go into the New Court Temple through here, through these gates. Closed at the weekend, as I say. About a third of the companies that are hit by ransomware lose revenue. 9% of the companies reported that all the machines in their company had been encrypted. So major attacks as well. And about 60% of the ransoms are more than $1,000, £600 or so. This is where the lawyers hang out during the lunch breaks, and the secretaries presumably. This is one of the temples here. We can't go in this one because it's closed to the public. It's only open between 10 AM and midday, Monday to Friday, to the public. But I did come back here at such a time, and it was also closed then because there was some event going on, so we haven't had a look in there, I'm afraid. I can't do it. This, by the way, is an interesting tree. It's a raspberry tree. If you look, there are actually raspberries growing on it. And you can eat them as well. I presume it doesn't get sprayed with pesticide, but I don't know. And speaking of being an illegal district, apparently 40% of the companies hit by ransomware in Britain actually pay the ransom in order to get their data back. Well, in fact, 40% worldwide, sorry. 58.2% in the UK, and only about 3% in the USA. I should point out that paying ransoms is illegal. I mean, okay, maybe one has to be realistic about it, but that's crazy. The main protection that companies have is backups. You can use these gardens June, July, September between 12 and 3 PM. Oh, and May as well. Now, I came here once and had to come back the next day because there was stuff going on in the gardens and I couldn't get in. We'll have a quick look anyway. There we go, stuff going on. We'll be back shortly. Hey. Obviously the other thing to do with ransomware is don't open suspicious emails, but you know, I work in IT. There's always somebody who makes a mistake, or just doesn't think, or is actually stupid. That's life. (1830, 1831). Oops, this is where my battery froze, so let me just switch the battery. Chunk. Right, okay. (1005, 678, 1906). We won't go in there just at the moment. We're going to go down these steps, which actually, this was once upon a time the riverbank up until the 1860s when they built the embankment. The Victorian, Mr. Bazalgette and his engineers built the Victoria embankment here. But that set of steps there was where the riverside was back in the day. we're going to head back and look at the inner temple, because this is the middle temple, this area. I take it because it's sort of west of the dragons as far as I can make out. Or it's somewhere on the boundary anyway. Incidentally, it was only British companies that had to close as a result of ransomware. American and German companies reported that none of them had to close. Presumably because they have proper backup policies, and maybe they have password policies as well. None of this 12345 password, let me in nonsense. And maybe some decent malware, antivirus stuff on there. Anti-malware, I should say. Right, we're going to go through here. You can go through the arch just up as well. I think this road effectively marks the boundary between the inner and the middle temple. It used to be called the outer temple, but it changed its name to middle. There are 4 temples at the moment, 4 inns anyway, inns of court. Yeah, that is the symbol of the middle temple, is the Lamb of God. The symbol of the inner temple is a flying horse, a Pegasus. Just going to go down here and have a look at some stuff. Charles Henry Hopwood, QC. I mentioned King Arthur because we're looking at all this old stuff. Apparently at the castle of Tintagel there's been some archaeological work going on, and a 6th century, that's AD 500 plus, building has been found underneath the current castle, and people are speculating that it might be the birthplace of the legendary King Arthur, although it's, as far as I'm aware, it's not even known whether he even existed. King Arthur is thought to be, if he existed, a Saxon king, or a pre-Saxon king, a Celtic king presumably, fighting to keep the Anglo-Saxons out of England, and failed presumably because they won. But he's going to come back when England again faces peril. Hopefully he'll win next time with Excalibur. And you see there's the symbol of the inner temple on that side, because I guess this road marks the boundary. It would be interesting if King Arthur really was found to have existed, and we can actually find some info about him, and whether the legends have any sort of basis in fact or what. I think the town there was called Dumnonia, Dumnonia, Dumnonia. This is the town at Tintagel as it was, or Dumnonia probably. I think Doom probably means something like hill or village, something of that sort. Presumably, anyway. Just came out to look at those statues, basically, or those sculptures. And we'll head back up to that archway I pointed out earlier. Alright, we're back here. Can't go in there because it's closed to the public, as it was after midday when I was filming this, so there you go. Now there's another archway up there you can go through. I'm going to go slightly less direct route and we can see a bit more here. I was interested to read that the IMF has done a little report on itself. It actually has self-correcting mechanisms in it, which is brilliant. It's like science. And this report is absolutely scathing of their rescue of, or failure to rescue Greece, and their groupthink and just sheepish belief in European monetary union and the euro and all that. It's very, very critical, and this is their own report. There's a sundial there when it works, but not today. It says they were relying on the confidence fairy to rescue Greece. This report. Oh, look at this. Fig Tree Court joined this ancient buttery 1515 to 1666. It was destroyed in the Great Fire of London, rebuilt in 1697, and again destroyed by enemy action in 1940. And rebuilt because we're persistent. But we're going to go up here, which is to where the other archway led. Because up here is something really special. Consecrated in 1185 AD, this is the Church of the Knights Templar. And just to prove it, they've stuck this statue beside it of a Teutonic knight. I'll show him first. If I can get a good angle. He's quite high up and hard to see, really. There we go. Two Teutonic knights indeed. I suppose they're meant to be Knights Templar. And here it is, the Church of the Knights Templar, consecrated 1185 AD. Had to be substantially rebuilt after World War II, as a lot of churches in London did, but you can see they kept it the same, of course, as best they could. Owned by the Knights Templar, and featured and famous before it appeared in the Da Vinci Code movie. We're going to go inside and have a look around. They have exhibitions, they have a working choir, it's an Anglican church. So no one will we sell, to no one will we deny or delay right or justice, the Magna Carta. It's £5 to go in. They're typically closed during August, which is holiday season. I don't know. As bad as Italy, that. Anyway. But at other times you can go in. And here's what it looks like. Yeah, this IMF report mentions that the EU's policy was to protect the monetary union, not to protect Greece, and the IMF went along with this, and it was wrong. These are really, really ancient. 4th Earl of Pembroke died 1241 AD. Gilbert Marshall. His foot on a dog. I presume he had a pet, I don't know. I don't know if it symbolises something or if he had a pet. See, several of them have this. He doesn't. Because it's just an effigy of a knight. There we go. This one has his foot on a lamb or something. William Marshall died 1231. That's another William Marshall died 1219. His father, presumably. The IMF report also said that currency unions with no treasury or political union to back them up are inherently vulnerable to debt crises. And the IMF should have known that. Because they can't devalue their currency, the result is they're likely to go bankrupt instead. Because you devalue currency to improve trade, to improve the balance of payments. If you can't do that, your country gets into debt, such as Greece. And others. Or it can result in rampant inflation as another way of dealing with it. 1144 AD, Geoffrey de Mandeville. Couple of guys there robbing the church or doing some work in it, perhaps. Now, one of the things I noticed in that quote, that without political union to back them up, it's something the EU offshore will want to use to boost the idea of political union. And actually Standard & Poor's this week said that the EU is inherently unstable, and Brexit proves it, in its current form. Again, they were implying that it needs to either break up a bit and give some control back to the countries, or take full control in a full political union. You can guess which one they're going to try, presumably. Another one with his foot on a dog. I suppose it means something, or a cat, or some. I suppose it's a dog. King John. A cast of the effigy. It's not really him. Okay. Yeah, as Standard & Poor's said, the EU as it is currently constructed and operates doesn't embody a coherent pooling of the various dimensions of nation-state sovereignty, and therefore it's unsustainable in its current form. So obviously EU leaders are going to seize on this and try and push ahead with full-on federation or something. In due course. If the euro doesn't break them all up first, or maybe anyway. I think those are the royal coats of arms up there on the organ. Because there's a unicorn, not a flying horse. Unicorn and a lion. Oni swat ki malipants, or something to that effect. And of course a lot of banks in Europe were having big trouble this week. I don't know if you knew. I mean, they've been in trouble for a long time, the banks, but I mean, in Italy, Monte dei Paschi closed down 16.1% on just one day. Unicredit sank by 7.2%. This is Monday. Actually, Italy's banks have something like 360 billion euros of what they call non-performing loans, bad debts, basically people who are not paying back their debts. People close to bankruptcy, companies close to bankruptcy, governments close to bankruptcy, you name it. It's not just Italian banks. In Germany, Commerzbank and Deutsche Bank closed down 9.2 and 4.8% respectively. And in fact, Deutsche Bank and Credit Suisse were kicked out of the Euro Stoxx 50 index, which is based on Eurozone lenders, because their share price had gone down too far, basically. In fact, Credit Suisse has fallen by something like 2/3 over the past year. And it went down another 6.2% on the Monday. So really, the Eurozone is falling apart. I don't know how the ordinary person can defend their money against it. You've got to stick any cash you have somewhere. Most people only have small amounts, and hopefully that won't be seized in the crisis. If you have big amounts, you can expect a haircut, as they call it, I'm afraid. Probably your best bet is government bonds. Even with the currency collapsing, the government will presumably make the bonds void for a time, but maybe reinstate them later. But cash money, it'll probably inflate away in a matter of days or something like that. Don't know what to do. Gold would be good, of course, but it'll probably be illegal to own it. There is silver, I guess. I'm talking about small amounts of money, you know, if you've got a few £100 to stash away. I don't have lots, and most people don't. But how can you protect it? Don't know. Usually in financial crises, the government make it illegal to hold too much savings. They take it from you because they need it to pay the national debt, or whatever it is. They take gold from you, make it illegal for you to own that as well. They take it from you. And try and use it to pay off their debts. And of course it doesn't work, because they're out of control. They're money printing. They call it quantitative easing these days. Economies always collapse after sustained periods of quantitative easing, and it's happened many times over the past 800 years or so that such things have been recorded. Don't know what to do. For ordinary citizens, we're likely to end up broke. Right, we're in the inner temple. As you can see, there's the flying horse, or the Niblet Pegasus as it's called. Just going to wander through this arch because there's more to see. People on their phones, I don't know. This part is known as King's Bench Walk. And just up here, you can exit through one of the exits up to Fleet Street. Restaurant here. Never tried it. Looks nice. But I don't know why would I spend 10 or 20 quid in a restaurant when I can spend maybe 3 quid in McDonald's. I'm such a cheapskate. There's the Pegasus. In a temple. They like their symbolism, the Illuminati, don't they? Anyway. Or whatever they are. As I mentioned earlier, I mean, most of these offices, they call them chambers, are for lawyers. And on the top floor, some lawyers actually live. So you have a sort of collegiate atmosphere. And this is one of the exits, just here. You can't. There's a gate down there, but you can't get out. It's closed normally. You can get out through these security gates. You can get in here as well. They're only here to control the traffic, basically. And then we exit the temple. Blackfriars Station is more or less dead ahead, slightly to the right. Got Jamie's bar. So that's what it looks like from the outside. And just up Bouverie Street is Fleet Street at the top. Which we saw in one of my other videos. And down there is the Victoria Embankment, which is also in another one of my videos. Now let's come back to the Middle Temple Gardens quickly and have a look. I came back the next day just to fill this bit in. Lots of lavender in here, they like the lavender. I do too, as it happens. It's a nice smell. This garden. Can be a nice quiet place to come at lunchtime, because people don't really realise that it's open to the public. So you can just come in here and sit on those benches to the right. Or the left, and eat without being disturbed too much. Very nice gardens and nice buildings as well. See just beyond this one the other temple that we couldn't go in. The Middle Temple, I suppose it is. And down here, down the old riverbank. And you'll see how this place connects Fleet Street to Victoria Embankment Gardens. It's an interesting old building. It's closed at the moment, but it will be open next year to the public. That's 2017 it'll be open. Just here is Victoria Embankment. Fantastic weather vane, isn't it? Not quite sure what the idea of that is, but it's good. The brown building ahead, by the way, is the International Institute of Strategic Studies. This is Tues Temple Place. Closed until 2017, when they will have a Sussex Modernism exhibition, January to April probably. That's the Bulldog Trust, there you go. Now across the road is Victoria Embankment Gardens, which you can see in another video, but for this one, it's bye for now.